Well, what makes me so confident that I can win is I'm the greatest fighter in the world.
Learn me like, hey, it's okay. You lost, but this is awesome.
It's not that I'm bigger and stronger and so much physically more than them.
Since Ronda Rousey is the new Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Champion.
Ronda Rousey, once hailed as the female Mike Tyson, the UFC's untouchable warrior who left opponents trembling before the cage door even locked, has now been taken down, not by another fighter, but by her own pride. Her ego grew so high, it towered over Everest itself. And when it all came crashing down, it left behind a trail of humiliation, shattered hype, and fans in tears who once called her their queen. It all unraveled with one brutal head kick from Holly Holm that sent shockwaves around the world. That knockout was the crack in her crown, and Amanda Nunes came swinging through to completely demolish what was left of her empire. Instead of redemption, Ronda stormed out of the UFC in bitterness, turning her golden throne into one of the fastest and most shocking downfalls in sports history. How does someone so dominant fall so hard, so quick? To understand the collapse, we have to rewind to the era when Ronda was more than just a fighter. She was a phenomenon. Between 2011 and 2015, she stacked up a flawless 12-fight winning streak and transformed into the face of women's MMA. With her Olympic judo background, she didn't just win fights, she tore through them like a storm. It was a nightmare. 9 of her 12 victories ended the exact same way, and most didn't even make it past the first round. Fans barely had time to grab popcorn before the ref was pulling her broken opponents away. The dominance was unreal. She flattened Kat Zingano in only 14 seconds, crushed Miesha Tate in under a minute, destroyed Alexis Davis in 16 seconds flat. Her lightning-fast wins had fans screaming her name like she was invincible. To the public eye, Ronda didn't just beat opponents, she crushed them. And the roar of the crowd made her believe she was untouchable. That wave of praise crowned her queen of the octagon, but it also blinded her to the cracks forming under her glittering empire. While fans were mesmerized by the highlight reels, insiders and analysts whispered a different truth. Ronda was a one-trick pony. Her armbar was lethal, no doubt, but her striking was weak, stiff, and predictable. Most of her opponents never had the skill to expose it, which is why her streak lasted so long. But the danger was always there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right challenger. Instead of sharpening her weaknesses, Ronda let arrogance run the show. In interviews, she bragged that she was the best boxer in the world, mocking anyone who thought they could land a kick on her. "No one can touch me. I'm invincible," she smirked. And the world believed her. But those bold words were more than just confidence. They were the seeds of her downfall. The illusion shattered in November 2015 under the bright lights of UFC 193 in Melbourne. This wasn't just another fight. It was the moment destiny came calling. Ronda stepped in brash and fiery as always. But across from her stood Holly Holm, cool, composed, and dangerous. A former world boxing champion with ice in her veins. Holly Holm stepped into the octagon like a surgeon about to perform, calm and calculated. She moved with discipline, using her footwork and sharp precision instead of falling into Ronda's usual intimidation games. Even before the fight, Holm kept it classy, calling Ronda a formidable opponent while refusing to bite at her trash talk.
And new and still.
The contrast was striking, arrogance clashing head-on with humility, illusion finally meeting reality. The bell rang, and instantly the air inside Etihad Stadium felt different. Holm wasn't wide-eyed like the others. She was steady, unshaken, and locked in. She circled, jabbed, and kept distance, slicing into Ronda's rhythm, while the so-called baddest woman on the planet came charging forward wild and sloppy. Ronda kept lunging, desperate for her armbar, but Holm wasn't giving her a single opening. Instead, Holm's crisp punches kept smacking her in the face, exposing holes fans had never seen before. For the first time in her UFC career, Ronda couldn't bulldoze through the first round. And instead of glory, the crowd sensed blood in the water. Fans weren't silent. They were on the edge of their seats, waiting for the shocking moment that everyone knew was coming. Ronda, still blinded by her own hype, thought she'd rally back for the big finish. But fate had other plans. By round 2, the cracks weren't cracks anymore. They were gaping holes. Ronda looked gassed, her legs heavy, her face battered, her eyes lost. And then it happened. the kick that rewrote history. Holmes spun and unleashed a vicious head kick that landed flush on Ronda's jaw like a thunderclap. In one brutal instant, the queen was dethroned. She collapsed face first, unconscious, in front of 56,000 screaming fans and millions watching at home. The stadium erupted in chaos. Cheers, gasps, and disbelief filled the air. Not just because Holmes won, but because the invincible aura of Ronda Rousey had been shattered on live television. It wasn't just a knockout. It was the end of an illusion, destroyed in the most humiliating way possible. And instead of accepting the truth, Ronda ran from it. In interviews, she threw out excuse after excuse, blaming concussions, weight cuts, even lack of sleep. On Ellen, she muttered, "I wasn't at my best." Her eyes hollow, her pride wounded. But fans weren't buying it anymore. They saw Holmes' superiority, her strategy, her preparation, her composure. Ronda's refusal to admit it only exposed a fractured mindset. A fighter too arrogant to learn from defeat. A real champion accepts defeat and comes back stronger. But Ronda Rousey refused to face the truth. The home loss should have been her wake-up call, her chance to rebuild, to evolve, to prove she was more than just hype. Instead, she doubled down on denial, and when she finally returned, it was like watching a fallen idol walk straight into her own execution. UFC 207, in late 2016, was supposed to be Ronda's redemption story. After more than a year hiding in the shadows following Holmes' thunderous head kick, she returned with fire in her eyes and promotional clips showing a stone-faced warrior ready to reclaim the crown. Fans prayed this was the comeback, the rebirth of the armbar queen. But behind that cold stare, the swagger was gone. Her confidence wasn't replaced by humility. It was replaced by emptiness, fatigue, and a spirit already cracked. And waiting for her was no ordinary opponent. Across the cage stood Amanda Nunes, ruthless, sharp, and explosive. A striker with knockout power in both hands, hailed as one of the most dangerous and well-rounded women in MMA history. Nunes didn't even bother with trash talk. She just calmly said, "I respect Ronda, but I'll show her." It wasn't arrogance. It was quiet certainty, the vibe of a fighter who knew she was about to dominate. When the lights dimmed, inside T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, 20,000 fans screamed while millions tuned in worldwide, expecting a Hollywood-style comeback. But instead, what they got was a massacre. Within seconds, the truth came out. Ronda stormed forward with her same old script, charging in for the armbar like it was still 2013. But Amanda Nunes wasn't buying it. Cool and composed, Nunes sliced her apart with sniper-like jabs that rattled Ronda's head back again and again. Each punch was cleaner, sharper, harder. The once unstoppable queen looked like a rookie trapped in the wrong cage.
What makes you so confident that you can win?
Well, what makes me so confident that I can win is I'm the greatest fighter in the world.
In just 48 seconds, it was over. Nunes unleashed a brutal flurry, right hooks crashing, fists pounding, until Ronda stood dazed, wobbling, and wide open. She looked helpless, glassy-eyed, a legend reduced to a heavy bag in front of 20,000 stunned fans. Referee Herb Dean had no choice but to jump in and save her before she got seriously hurt. The fight wasn't dramatic, it was a demolition. The arena didn't erupt in applause. It froze in eerie silence. No chants of Ronda, no cheers for the fallen star. Just boos, gasps, and disappointed stares as she stumbled out of the cage with her head bowed, avoiding every eye in the room. But the real humiliation was waiting online. Within minutes, X and Reddit exploded. Memes roasted her, clips of the 48-second massacre looped endlessly, and headlines mocked the woman once called invincible. "Ronda Rousey is done," one post read. Another viral comment sneered, "She was a queen. Now she's a joke." The hashtag Ronda is done trended like wildfire. The internet crowning Nunes as the executioner who ended the myth. Even analysts weren't gentle. Chael Sonnen blasted her on camera. Ronda didn't improve. She stepped back in with the same failed strategy Holmes destroyed a year ago. That's not resilience. That's stubbornness. His words cut deeper than Nunes' punches, exposing the truth everyone could see. And here's the kicker. During her year-long break, Ronda wasn't sharpening skills in the gym. She was on talk shows, magazine covers, Hollywood sets, building her image instead of fixing her flaws. When she finally returned, the cage exposed everything she had neglected. Then, just like that, she disappeared. No thank you to the fans, no post-fight statement, no acknowledgement of defeat. Her silence after that crushing defeat wasn't seen as grace, it was branded cowardice. Fans felt betrayed, calling her exit a slap in the face to the MMA community. "She abandoned us," one furious fan wrote online. The once celebrated symbol of strength and resilience was now remembered as someone who ran from reality, too fragile to face the harsh truth. Ronda's legacy didn't end in fire and glory, it ended in silence and bitterness. But Ronda wasn't done chasing the spotlight. After hiding away, she popped back up in a new arena, professional wrestling with WWE. At first, it looked like redemption. The crowd welcomed her like a superstar reborn. With her Olympic judo pedigree and UFC fame, she was fast-tracked into prime storylines, even starring in major events like WrestleMania. Under the bright lights, with her smile back, Ronda looked like she'd finally rediscovered her spark. But history repeated itself, and once again, her ego ripped it all apart. When WWE fans started booing her, instead of leaning into the theatrics like every other pro does, Ronda snapped. At the 2019 Elimination Chamber, she lost all composure, breaking character, breaking the fourth wall, and flat out trashing the entire business that had given her a second chance. "Wrestling is fake," she shouted during a promo, her voice filled with rage. "I'm not here to entertain you." The words hit like a dagger to the chest of the WWE community. Everyone knows the matches are scripted, but the magic of wrestling is in respecting the craft, respecting the fans who suspend disbelief to live inside that universe. Ronda shattered that illusion with a tantrum, spitting on the very people who embraced her when MMA turned its back. Fans were furious. "She doesn't get WWE," one longtime supporter blasted on Twitter. "She thinks she's bigger than the sport." In that moment, Ronda revealed the same fatal flaw that destroyed her UFC career. She couldn't handle criticism, couldn't accept boos, couldn't play along unless she was worshipped. In MMA, she thrived as the undefeated queen. But in WWE, where boos are just as important as cheers, Ronda couldn't separate herself from the role she was supposed to play. The same arrogance that once had her bragging she was the best boxer in the world resurfaced, and it turned her from a rising wrestling star into a pariah. Fans tuned out, and critics called it for what it was. Wrestling insider Dave Meltzer said it plain: Ronda had everything it took to succeed in WWE, but she sabotaged herself by disrespecting the audience and the sport. And just like that, Ronda burned every bridge she ever built, in MMA and in WWE. In the UFC, she disappeared like a ghost. No farewell, no closure, no respect left in the sport she once dominated. And in WWE, she went from being billed as the future to a performer booed out of the arena, rejected by fans and distanced by her peers. The once invincible icon of strength had become a walking punchline. Social media still won't let her escape. Memes of Holly Holm's legendary head kick and Ronda's post-fight excuses are plastered all over X and Reddit, haunting her like permanent scars. Her fall wasn't just a loss, it became internet folklore, a cautionary meme for anyone who lets ego run wild. Yet even through the wreckage, one truth can't be erased. Ronda Rousey did change the game forever. She was the pioneer who forced the UFC to open its doors to women. Without her, names like Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, or Rose Namajunas may never have gotten their shot on the biggest stage. For all her flaws, her legacy carries weight. She lit the torch that others carried further. Her story stands as both inspiration and warning. Talent and fame can take you to the top, but without humility and growth, they'll just as quickly drag you down. The moment you start believing you're untouchable, that's the moment everything slips away. So what do you think? Is Ronda remembered more as a trailblazer or a cautionary tale? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that pull back the curtain on fame, ego, and the truth behind the fall.